Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another episode of the Call It Anything podcast. I am Jack, joined by,
Mr. Solis.
and we are back here today with another episode. But before getting into it, how are you, sir? And as well to the listeners, happy Thanksgiving. It passed, but gotta let y'all know happy Thanksgiving. And, sir, how are you?
Happy Thanksgiving, Jack. Had a fun time with the family, and my brother called, so it was nice to talk to him. I gained a bunch of weight. So, I had a lot of good food and a lot of good snacks. So we're working on that, at least making room for Christmas. And I am sure if I gained a lot of weight, that means I had a lot of good snacks. If I didn't get anything done, it means I rested.
Yeah, and I feel you on that because I don't think we had it the last time we recorded, and this is information for the podcast to hear too. My family and I recently got a treadmill for a pretty cheap price, thanks to our
Cool.
grandma's senior discount.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so my dad and I have been using it. Been having fun trying to learn what settings work for me, and
Yeah.
because we have it. Because I don't think I ever said it, but I have taken a bit of a break. It was after I hit the 1 year mark. I took
Yeah.
a break from the walking an album a day because I really
Yeah.
wanted to, first off, take a break after the whole year, but really kind of, just kind of take a break. And I've been wanting to get back into it. And so now with the treadmill, that makes it much easier. But also with the new setting, it makes it easier because it's like, hey, what better way to, even if it's just a little neighborhood we're in, what better way to get outside more and walk around the neighborhood? Maybe meet new people than listening to an album a day walking around, whether it be outside or, like I said, with this new treadmill.
I just based on what I've seen on our Zoom calls, it's a nice neighborhood, seemingly a nice quiet one.
Yeah.
Hopefully, around springtime, it's a little brighter. Around this time of the day,
Yeah.
because
Very
like
dark.
that, it was that advanced darkness that SpongeBob taught us all about.
Yeah. And I mean, that also comes with some benefits because, my dad and I at night, like sometimes before we go to bed, we'll go out together to look at the stars and he'll try and show me like the different constellations.
That's cool.
Yeah.
The only star I can see is the Carl's Jr. sign down the street.
Oh man, but that I will mention, that was something that I mentioned to my dad because they went to the store and they had asked me if I wanted to go, and I was like, no, I gotta, get prepared for recording with Mr. Solis, and I keep forgetting the time difference. I looked at 6:30
Oh
my
no, I
time.
forgot it too.
Yeah, I
It's
looked at
7:45 where you are.
yeah, which I mean that isn't too much of an issue. The
Were
time
you on
difference-
earlier? Were you on an hour ago?
Well, I wasn't on because I ended up realizing it when it was like around 6 o'clock. I was like, man, Solis hasn't sent me the link yet, and we're gonna start in 30 minutes. And then I realized I'm like, wait, the different times. It's 5:30 over there. He's probably going home from school.
Pull back the curtain, Jack. It was 6:30 when I walked into my apartment. I'm like, I gotta send Jack that link.
But yeah, that's why I told my dad, I keep forgetting the time difference. Thankfully things are gonna go back come springtime. But yeah, right now it's like I keep forgetting. I'm like, and it's funny because the same thing happens with my friends. Because we'll be talking, we'll be playing, and I'll be like, all right, time for me to go to bed. And they're like, going to bed this early? I'm like, guys, I'm an hour ahead of you. It's a different time zone now. Like there was one time, it was like 1 a.m. over here, but it was barely 12 for them. And they were like, oh, that's right. The time there, I'm like, yeah, it's already 1 o'clock over here. I stayed up way longer than I needed to.
I'm gonna bury my family, the one I said I had a good time with at Thanksgiving, because I was over, for multiple days of the week, and that whole group of people, Jack. It's 5 o'clock and it's as dark as it is right now, and they're like, "Well, time for bed," and I'm like, "What the?" They start shutting down. They start getting ready for bed. It's like 6, and I go, well, they know it too.
That reminds me of my final months in LA. Not that it started those final months, but it became more of an issue as you try and hang out with more people and go out. I'll never forget trying to plan stuff with friends, and it's just it's 8 o'clock and things are already closing down in the night, and you're just like, what happened to the good old days when things were open late? Why is everything closing at 9 o'clock now?
Goodness.
No.
Ah,
But glad as always to hear that you're doing good and that you enjoyed the holidays. But tuning in to what we're here to talk about today, we got 2024 Survivor Series War Games once again, sir.
the Thanksgiving tradition.
Yeah,
And the second oldest PLE in WWE history.
that is correct. And it was funny that like the one thing my dad noted, given that it's one of the older pay per views, he was like, man, it's kind of weird that you know this isn't in like a bigger sort of venue. And I was like, yeah, it really seems
Mm,
like SummerSlam and Mania get the stadiums, and then Survivor Series and the Royal Rumble are, they still get, bigger venues like arenas, but they don't typically get that same treatment even though they're the big four. And I even told my dad, I was like, at least with the Rumble, they typically like to do baseball stadiums because they like to utilize, you know, the amount of seating they can get
no doubt.
at that,
Yeah.
yeah. And then they like to use the dugouts as the stage a lot of times.
And you know what, Jack? Talking about the smaller venue that Survivor Series was in, there was a shot of Gunther from below. He's standing on the ropes in his entrance where you can see the ceiling and all the lights. And I thought of the building and I thought about just how much I miss those kind of shots. You know what I
Mm,
mean?
yeah.
When we're outside, I don't know, something's lost. But that shot of like all the lights, all the like riggings or the frame of the building, all the people. When you can see all the people, a building's so big you can't see everybody. You don't know. You don't have a sense for scale. Everything's lost.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's something people argue is that smaller venues typically create more rowdy, intimate settings, especially in the wrestling world.
Heck yeah.
But we are starting here today with our Survivor Series. Starting off first with the women's war game match. Um, I'll be honest, sir, and I'll be honest with the audience. We've been very upfront that you and I don't really watch the weekly shows, and that has sometimes
Correct.
led to confusion. But I don't think I've ever been as confused as I was when I saw the lineup for this War Games because I understood the men's one. You know, I understood this is what they've been building for a while, but when I saw this women's one, I was left so confused, and I had to message Ricky about it, just being like, "Have you been paying attention to the main shows? How did this come together?" And even he asked me, he was like, "What are the teams?" And when I showed him, he was confused. And I talked with my dad about it. I'm like, "This is very confusing to me." There's a popular meme on the internet where it shows like this photo of a polar bear, and it's like, "What is a polar bear doing in San Antonio, Texas?" And so I found a meme where it is multiple polar bears, and I sent it to Ricky with this War Games lineup saying, "What are all these polar bears doing in San Antonio?" Because if you don't know, the teams are Rhea Ripley, Bianca Belair, Naomi, Io Sky, and Bailey versus Liv Morgan, Raquel Rodriguez, Candice LeRae, Nia Jax, and Tiffany Stratton.
I don't know what's so confusing, Jack. You have the heels. You have Tiffany Stratton, who has a Money in the Bank contract. You have the two champions she could potentially cash in on her team. Her friend, sometimes maybe we don't know, Nia Jax, and the woman she fought less than a month ago in Saudi Arabia, Liv Morgan, who has a friend, Raquel. It's the only part of this team that makes sense, Jack. And then Candice LeRae, because she sort of also started to float around Nia Jax, which makes my heart hurt that Indy Hartwell got cut so that they could do this with Candace.
Yeah, and
And
then
on the other side, you got just a smorgasbord of baby faces. And I think the only thing you got to know is that Jade Cargill got beat up in a parking lot. So we got Bailey instead. Does this mean that? And you know what? Like, on top of everything, Jack, that I just said, there's an overarching question of who attacked Jade. And literally, it could be any one of these 8 women.
yeah, it's
10
funny.
women? It's 10 women.
And the one thing that confused me so much was I hadn't seen what the lines were until my dad showed me. I think it was like the last SmackDown before this, where they have the big old brawl, and I
Yeah.
literally, the first words out of my mouth seeing that brawl was, what are Bailey and Io doing on the same team when earlier this year at Mania they were facing each other? I was like, that's why I made the whole joke about the polar bears, because it's like, it's so random, these two teams. Like, you have the men's war games, which has been carefully crafted, and like you said, this one was basically just, hey, let's throw all the baby faces and heels all together.
They all have a common enemy. Like it's the baby faces is a little easier to digest because like nobody likes Naya. But there is a lot of intrigue that they don't play into at all. But did Bailey beat up Jade Cargill? Did Bianca beat up Jade Cargill? Did Naomi beat up Jade Cargill? Did who else is left on that team?
Rhea.
Oh, Io.
Yeah, and Io.
I don't know. She could have, but you're right. And not to get ahead of ourselves, but it's like it's one thing I liked about this match. It's funny because Io starts, right? No, Bailey starts. Bailey starts for her team, and who starts for the heels? Candice?
Naya.
Naya, yes, she does. Steps up. She's the first one in, and because of this, when Io and Bailey kind of lock eyes, it occurs to me that it's the first time in this entire build, I think, that they are even in the same ring together. And they kind of reference, like, there's some tension between them that, like, would have come up if Io was, or if Bailey was in the cage. You know what I mean? I don't think they'd ever, like, even stood next to each other.
Yeah.
A very, like your stars in the Arizona sky, a glimmer of something nice in a very vast darkness of this match, Jack. What'd you think of it?
Yeah, I will say, kind of confused by Nia starting, but then you think with the babyface having the advantage, it would make sense to start with either Nia or Raquel, who could hold off a 2-on-1 attack until their team gets someone. But very much, I agree with your sentiment, and I can tell you for a fact, my dad agrees because he was making a lot of comments during the match where he was just like, what is going on here, in the sense that, how sloppy was this match, sir?
This match was so sloppy and so long, Jack. It's crazy. I think there were 5 minutes between entrances in this match, and they shortened it to 3 by the time they got to the men's. This match should have had 3 minutes per entrance. And, oh goodness, Jack. Every woman who wanted to get into the ring looked under the ring to bring something in, and I don't know why, but for a majority of them, they couldn't find what they were looking for.
Yeah, my dad made the same comment. Like, did they not? Do they not know where their stuff is? Like, why do they keep looking in all the wrong spots? It was just, and then it wasn't even just that. In the ring, it was like so many things were off, and it's like, all I can think about is the starting off point between Nia and Bailey. And as I watched it, I just was like, I was like, everything Solis and I have said about, the SummerSlam match, the Bad Blood match, is super vindicated here, because this is just proving, once again, the words that we were saying, where it's just like, these two don't produce an interesting matchup, and they really just have no chemistry together.
I think and I had a lot of time to think about with this, right? Because that was a long 5 minutes before somebody else entered the ring. I liked Nia in this match whenever she was literally throwing her weight around. Like, I think we needed a 5-minute squash, and I don't think anyone wanted to do that to Bailey. But I think we needed to see Nia just destroy her. It was too even. And we were doing hurricanranas that nobody can do. And we were whiffing on with the chair. Like, if you're not going to hit anybody with the chair, don't bring the chair in.
Yeah.
We woofed it hard. And so, like, if it was just, like, literally squash, tsunami status, you know what I mean? Like, just literally, like, that thing that the bigger folks do where they literally just run into somebody. She does it so much, right? Like, when she wants to break something up. But it should have been more of that. But what it was is this, like, this this even 50-50 match offense, 50-50 offense that amounted to nothing.
Yeah. I was very disappointed, especially because, they tried to do a whole lot, especially with the weaponry, to make it really unique, to make it stand out and separate it from the match that would take place later, which, that's always been a thing, is when you do multiple of the same match in the same night, how do you make them different? When you're doing two Hell in a Cell matches, how do you make one different from the other? So it's like I
Yeah.
give them props for trying to make things different by having such a plethora of weaponry from the kendo sticks to the chairs to the toilet seat, you know. But
Yeah.
yeah, I was very disappointed with this one, because it just felt like such a thrown together thing, where it was just like so many pieces that maybe worked together individually in tags, but all
Hmm.
together just wasn't working out.
The fans were into it. I was surprised. Like they were trying. They were, rooting for things and reacting to things. And I was thinking about it, Jack. I'm like, is this match like an album that you like? Really, there's one or two songs I like on that album. No, Jack. I think it's one of those songs where you're like, I really only like one or two parts of that song. Like that song it's longer than it ever has to be, but I like the solo. Or that song, I don't know what they were trying to do with that song, but there's a phrase, like a half of a verse that I really like. Jack, what were some parts of this match that you liked?
Um, when it comes to war games, Io's always going to be the highlight. Um,
Uh huh.
I was very surprised that she upped the ante. Usually she puts that trash can on and does like a simple dive. She does the full on moonsault with it.
She sure did. I don't know why her and Tiffany had to jump together. I don't know, like I don't. Did you even watch Tiffany's dive? On
No.
even the second the replay, I still watched Io because I had noticed. I went, did she moonsault? Why, Jack? Why?
And not only that, how do you time it? Like if she has the trash can, she can't look over and like be able to tell when Tiffany's ready so that they can both do it simultaneously. It's like, what's the point of that spot? Usually it's done because, oh, they do it at the same time, but it's like, how is Io supposed to tell with the trash can over her?
Goodness, I like the threat of a cash in. As I was talking to a buddy who goes, I want her to cash it in, and he goes, do you think they'd make her pick? And I said, I think it'd be funny if she cashed it in. And they went, all right, everyone, this War Games is now for the women's title. Anybody, first pin wins. And Tiffany be like, what?
Yeah, and
You
you
cashed in
especially
the middle
you
of War
had
Games. What do you think was going to happen?
yeah you have Michael Cole on commentary like mentioning that too, where he's like, how would this even work?
I love that. I love, like, I really wish they pulled the trigger and, like, let's figure it out. But no, it's a tease and it'll happen later. And this made more sense. I loved Rhea Ripley's mask. I mean, if you're going to wear a mask, wear it with style. And everything that she did when she got in there, I thought like things picked up a whole lot when she got in there.
Yeah,
She was coming after people.
yeah. Definitely liked her stuff. Definitely liked some of Bianca's stuff. Although it did feel like we didn't see as much from certain people. Maybe that's just me not paying attention enough.
Hmm.
But it definitely felt like there was some stuff missing. Io with the fire extinguisher was funny.
And when all the what do you call the thing that a fire extinguisher emits?
What would you call it? Because it's not smoke, fog, I guess.
No. When all of the fire extinguisher fog dissipates, it's revealed that Raquel is handcuffed to the turnbuckle because Rhea did that while everybody was in disarray. And I thought that was great. That was such a great reveal.
Yeah. And funny enough, I didn't catch that the first time. So when I can't remember if it was Bailey or Io or Rhea, like they kick Raquel and she like falls down to the corner, and
Yeah,
then they do the big spot with Liv. I asked my dad, I'm like, why didn't Raquel do anything? How was one kick enough to just take her down to the corner and not do anything to stop that spot? And then the replay happened, and my dad showed. I was like, oh, okay, that makes more sense.
she was tethered to the ring post.
Yeah. But overall, like I said, the only way I can describe it is sloppy.
It was too long. It was too sloppy. And there was a few bits here and there, but hard to look past the other bits.
Yeah.
And then my only thing, also, I talked to my friend about like I was surprised Rhea pinned Liv so decisively, and I said, I mean, is that it? Did she get her revenge? As my friend reminded me, no, she still has to go after the title. Like there's still work to be done.
Isn't it kind of funny that, not to spoil things, but both War Games matches kind of ended that way?
Yeah, spoiler alert, you kind of like step back and go, huh, that was pretty definitive.
Yeah, I'll voice that later with that one. But yeah, so Rhea pins Liv for this one. Um, like you said, crowd was into it, but you know, for us over here at home, just wasn't super interested in that one and was kind of let down by it.
Hmm.
But moving on to our next match, first championship on the line. It is LA Knight defending his United States Championship against Shinsuke Nakamura.
Who's back with a meaner, ruder, eviler attitude with a mask that isn't at all a ripoff of Konosuke Takeshita's mask, sir, and a helmet that I liked when he on his entrance sat down on the middle of the ring and bowed to it.
Yeah, and new entrance music.
Yeah, his music got D. What are they called? The music
CFO? Was it CFO
not
that did his theme?
CFO. The other one. Who's the other guy that like people aren't too into now?
Oh, Def Rebel?
It got D Def Rebel. I think his is a CFO hangover, but I think they changed it because of the copyright stuff.
Yeah. But getting into this one, sir, what were your thoughts on this one?
Did you see LA Knight drop his belt
I didn't.
at the entrance when he climbs the ring post to do his LA Knight? And then we got a new announcer because Samantha Irving's gone. I thought she did the LA Knight too early. She should have waited for him to get to the post. Um, but when he climbs the post, he drops the belt.
Oh,
He looks down at it, and Corey Graves, an absolute, you know, professional, says that LA Knight shook. He's coming into this match, and he's maybe less confident than he's been in a while because that guy just got sprayed in the face last night. And I'm like, amazing save. You might as well have been one of the people who catched Io Sky in the trash can in that War Games match. That was such an amazing save.
man, I didn't even catch that. But when it comes to the match, I actually really enjoyed this one,
Mm-hmm.
Like, as I was watching, I was really enjoying it, you know? I was trying my best to give full attention to the show and not do anything in the background. So, because like,
Mm-hmm.
I found myself doing that a lot. I'm like, man, maybe that's why I haven't enjoyed a lot of matches because I wasn't giving them my full attention. But,
Yeah.
I was trying to give the show my full attention. I was actually really liking the way this one was playing out, a lot. It's nothing too flashy, nothing too crazy, and that's to be expected given the two men's wrestling styles. But
Mm-hmm.
I found myself enjoying a lot of it.
I agree. And I think we've seen glimmers of hope for Shinsuke when he does that like strong style stuff,
Yeah.
Like he puts LA Knight in the corner. That knee he hits hard with that knee. He starts kicking him while he's down. Love that. And he got a lot of offense in, which you just love to see, and it's been too long.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's something that they've always done come War Games time, even going back to NXT. But the one thing that I liked, because like I was thinking it to myself, and then literally as I was thinking it, it happened, was the fact that they treat whatever ring they're not using as the outside. So like there was like a spot where I think like Shinsuke or LA Knight like got to that outside point and like even kind of like were like somewhat rolled into that other ring, and the ref started like counting or like saying that they had to get it back in the ring, basically playing on the fact that there is two rings here, but as far as regular matches that aren't taking place under War Games rule, you're limited to whatever ring we're in. Like that is the legal space, and everything else, including that second ring, is considered the outside.
I can affirm for you, sir, for as long as WWE has been using two rings for War Games, that's how they do it. They did it in NXT as well.
Mm. Yeah.
And the finish of this match um, comes at it involves the two rings because Shinsuke and LA Knight find themselves in the no man's land in the middle, and there's like this metal panel that kind of connects the two. So, like, if in the War Games match somebody's walking in between one ring to the other. Right, they got that like grate there to step over. Otherwise, there'd be like a chasm between the two rings. And because it's metal, Shinsuke Nakamura threw our boy LA Knight right into it, and it hurt a lot. And I'm like, heck yes, he's using the environment. That's ring awareness, as Jim Ross used to call it.
Yeah. Does that, as, LA Knight pretty much down and out, they get him back into the ring. Nakamura lands the Kinshasa to the back of the head, which
Mm-hmm.
plays on the fact that I think it was like a reverse DDT that he hit on him, so to like
Uh-huh.
further target,
Oh,
you
that's
know,
right. Yes. The what did Sting used to call it?
the,
Scorpion Death Drop.
yeah,
That's what he hit.
yeah, hits that Kinshasa to the back of the head, and we have a new champion.
That like we've talked about before, Jack. How much of a difference does a finish make? And the fact that Shinsuke won elevated this from this is a pretty good match. So that was a pretty good match. Just the inflection of my tone.
Yeah, and the only
And puts the belt on the middle of the ring right where his helmet and mask was, and he bows to it. Heck yes. I'm
yeah,
into Darth Shinsuke.
and the only thing I could think of when the match finished was I was like, I know Solis is gonna be happy with this match because it's a championship changing hands. Surprisingly, you know.
you know, I was, God, Jackie, they just done him so wrong. Like, I was 100% ready for LA Knight to beat him, and Shinsuke in this return with the new look, new song was for nothing, but we got the W. Heck yeah. And
Yeah,
this means Shinsuke matches? Let's go.
yeah, and I don't want to go on too much of a rant, especially because I don't want to anger some people, but that's kind of what dampens one of the matches on the card and kind of dampens some sort of matches either before this to come after this, especially as a result of both War Games matches. I think one of the biggest issues I've had, especially with wrestling as a whole this year, that I'm going to like kind of go more into when we do our top 10, but not hopefully take up too much time there. But like, I think the biggest issue I've had is just that so much is getting, or not getting, but like so much has been predictable this year, Where it's like
Mm.
so many of the different promotions, it's like you're able to see what they're doing months before, or it's like you
Hmm.
see them committed to a plan, which isn't an issue, long the whole long-term storytelling isn't the issue. It's just that it kind of becomes, a bit frustrating to watch when like what the outcomes are, or not the outcomes, but like what direction we're heading in, and thus it kind of makes it harder to get more invested into some of the matches. Like it very much
Yeah.
reminds me of the older years where everyone was like, all right, well, once we get to like December, don't really expect much because they already have Rumble to Mania planned, you know?
Yeah. I hear you, Jack. And I wonder, if we are just like cursed by the internet and knowing too much, like I wonder if people were ever bored of Bruno Sammartino, if they just, or if they turned up and said, "Ooh, I hope he wins tonight,"
Yeah.
oblivious of the fact that he won all them times before and that he was going to win all those times after. Hulkamania is another one. Austin never lost, and you just wonder if like people were ever bored or frustrated by that booking, right? Like,
Yeah.
I think of Gunther's Intercontinental run, where it's just like, okay, it's been fun, it's been real, and Cody, right? Like, he won, and now he's going to just hold on to it for it. We just doing this Triple H long champion thing, huh? Championship reigns, huh?
Yeah, and to me, it's like I wouldn't mind these long runs if, once again, things weren't predictable,
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like you wouldn't mind, uh, like, for example, Liv and Rhea, I don't mind the story, but it kind of makes it hard to invest in any live title matches if you know what the end game already is.
Mm.
So it's like it's kind of hard to get,
Yeah.
especially as you and I have always said in the past with matches, when they're unpredictable, when you're able to buy into them more and get more immersed in them, it leads to enjoying the match more. And it's like it's kind of hard to do that when you're like, all right, well, this is this is gonna be just like it's kind of like the first title defense. It's like no one expects someone in these day and ages to lose on the first defense, aside from a
But they
couple.
can. Of course they can. And
Yeah,
they did. Kane was champion for a day. Kane, they call him a former WWE champion. That man was WWE champion for 24 hours, and it was even less, Jack, because he had to have won it from Stone Cold at like 10 o'clock on one night, and he lost it at like 9 o'clock the next night.
yeah. So it's like I want a lot of that. Like I'm telling the audience now, that's what you're gonna kind of notice with a lot of my like top 10, or like not all of them, but like a, a good chunk. I would say it's like it came from me being able to get invested because like I wasn't looking at it and going, well, this person isn't losing this match, or this person, if they're defending their title, this person isn't losing their title until they face this person. So you know like I feel like that's what's taken me out of a lot of matches where I'm just like, okay, this was good, but like, was I expecting the person to lose at any point? Like, no, not
Well,
really.
you and me, Jack, we're going to watch Saturday night's main event on Saturday the 14th after the last day of the fall semester, and we're going to see Io Sky snipe that championship away from Liv, and Rhea's going to be like, what?
Yeah, I mean, it would make for a lot more interesting things if people weren't able to look at your storylines and predict how they're going to end months down the line.
Goodness gracious.
But that's just how I feel. I don't want to rant too much further on it, but yeah, like that's kind of an issue I've been having. Was an issue I had with this match though, because like we said, out of nowhere, I don't think anyone was expecting Shinsuke
And
to
I don't think
win.
LA Knight loses a lot, losing, right? Like, he can come back. I think we'd look forward to him coming back. And Shinsuke, long overdue. He's going to bring it to Noah. He's going to defend it to Noah, and that Noah guy is going to beat him. And then, bam, now we got to learn Japanese.
Oh man! But with that, we move on to our next match. And oh, before we mention it, sir, I didn't know they were in Vancouver, and that ended up resulting in me missing. I forgot to mention I missed the women's war game match.
What?
I missed the women's war game match because they were in
Oh,
Vancouver.
because it started
Yeah,
earlier.
it started earlier, and
Yeah, it was like a 3 o'clock start time. I was like, what are you talking about, Jack? We just talked about it. I see. I see. You missed it live.
yeah, and of course, trying to adjust to the new time zone as
Oh,
well.
no.
It made things even more difficult, and then it made it worse. Again, I don't want to rant too much. I don't want to annoy the audience having to hear my ranting when they're trying to come listen to a recap. But what made it worse was the show ends, and my dad and I just want to watch the replay because my dad was at the store. He didn't get back until literally the last match, so he wanted to watch everything that he missed.
Yes.
And Peacock would not put up the replay.
Dang.
It just kept, and the worst part, they had the press conference after, which just kept going on and on. So that even delayed it further. And it was just like we were sitting there so frustrated. I had to wait till the next day to watch this stuff.
But you saw CM Punk get frustrated there were no muffins.
Yeah, I got to see him complain about like macaroons or something like that. Yeah, definitely what I wanted to be watching after the show, right?
100%. And then Jack, the next day when you're like, finally I can watch my replay. You watch that women's War Games match.
Imagine the frustration watching the match and just being like, "This is what I had to wait all that time to watch."
When you saw Nia pull that chair shot, just
Oh man! But moving forward, we're gonna go on to our next match. It is the Intercontinental Championship match, a triple threat champion Braun Breaker defending against Sheamus and Ludwig Kaiser.
When my buddy and I are texting mid show, and he goes, "I'm rooting for Sheamus," and I said, "I just want Braun Breaker to hit one decent spear, just one." Like if you're good at shoulder tackles, Jack, just like make your finisher the shoulder tackle. You know, like if it's gonna be a clothesline, just like brand the clothesline. And you know what they
Hmm.
do to mask his inaccuracies? They're on commentary going, "He's so fast. You know how fast he's clocked by a speedometer." I'm like, "Hey, how about he slow it down and he aim, brother?"
Look at how fast he is. Oh, I'm sorry. Are we talking about a car? I thought we were talking about wrestling here.
I'm just saying.
But what were your thoughts on this match, sir?
So literally, Jack, I like just like you. I love that you were saying like how much effort you were making to give your full attention to the match. Right, you and I, we could be doing something else. Kind of, takes away our enjoyment. I'm like trying to do that, but I'm literally fighting all of the negative thoughts I have about Braun Breaker. Like I'm like I hate him that much that like he can't do anything right. And the match would pick up, and he'd like leap onto Sheamus and Ludwig while they were on the commentary table, and that was maybe a good spot. But literally, I just can't get over this guy, and I can't get over how people like him. And I'm like, give it to Sheamus. I don't know, man. But I loved Ludwig constantly trying to cheat. He brings a chair in, he's rolling out, like he's doing good character work. And Sheamus, plays the old battered veteran well because he's an old battered veteran.
Yeah. I really liked a lot of Sheamus's stuff in here, which I kind of find like ironic that it's like I was caring more about other pieces than the champion himself.
100%, right? Like Sheamus, he's our guy. He's been around forever. He's trying to show he can hang, but he can't. He's like old man Logan, but Irish and wrestler.
Man, now that you mention, I would love if they did like a character direction like that with veterans more often. I mean, they do kind of do it, but like I would love to see like an old man Logan approach with like you said, like a guy like Sheamus, where it's just like, and it makes sense for Sheamus because he's been a fighter his entire career. Imagine doing a story where it's like a fighter's learning how to live in a wrestling world where he can't put up as big of a fight as he used to.
He's got to be a commentator, Jack, and it's like, no, I'm not gonna do it. Like I passed that. I'm over that. Or maybe it's like a GM. He's like, no. I'm not getting back in there. And then he gets back in there.
Like imagine the story playing out that like he's like noticing that they're like purposely trying to phase him out, you know?
Uh
Like I feel like that would work really well.
huh. So what other spots were enjoyable about this match? We got Sheamus's 10 strikes to the chest outside to both men. That was funny and silly. Like, there's no ropes holding them back, so it's weird that they let them do it.
Yeah. Um, what else was there?
Sheamus got cracked with the shillelagh because he told Ludwig, don't be holding back like Nia did. And he didn't, Jack. He broke the thing. He broke a wooden shillelagh over Sheamus's back.
Yeah, that looked painful. And I didn't like the finish because Sheamus took the pin.
But, those two are the ones that have been warring, and Sheamus is the one that wants it more. I don't know. I feel like they're unclear whether Braun's a heel or face. They want to pretend like he's something in the middle. Stop.
Yeah.
His spear to Ludwig was passable. His spear to Sheamus was bad.
It's funny that you mentioned the whole tweener thing because I think people fail to realize tweeners work well when your entire roster isn't tweeners, you know?
Dang, I hear you.
Like, and
Yeah.
that's not just a
It's
thing. That's not a shot at WWE. That's like a shot at like a lot of wrestling promotions where it's like,
100,000,000%, Jack.
like
100.
I-
My
it,
heart, my heart broke, Jack, when I heard Kevin Owens describe himself as a tweener. I was like, "You're smarter than that. Don't say that. Don't say it like. Don't be like them."
it like reminds me of like the fact that like every wrestler wants to have like this alter ego type persona, and it's like, it worked for Muda because no one else was really doing it.
Yeah,
It's like,
I hate when people. I hate when people said that Austin, like really, like Austin was a tweener. No, he was a face. He was a face that did things that the people like. Were they bad? I mean, the people cheered him. He did what people liked. Like he didn't cheat. He said mean things and he did mean things to people, but he was a face. Stop it.
That's why with like John Moxley's new character, I'm kind of glad he didn't try and do like this tweener thing. Like
Uh huh.
he just full on went, I'm doing what I want, and I don't care if you
Yeah.
like it. Like this is my vision, this is my world, and you're gonna either follow it or or if you're opposing us, we're going to beat the hell out of you for opposing us.
You want me to tell you something, Jack, that I heard that I can't unhear?
Huh.
'Cause you know how they're like, we're taking over. We're gonna mold this in our image, right?
Mm-hmm.
Their retribution without the masks. Because they're taking over, but also we'll advertise their matches like they're ordinary wrestlers on the roster. Like this
Yeah.
is anarchy. I'll see you at the end of the show when it's our turn to fight.
Yeah, or it's like we can't show the footage of what this man did to Bryan Danielson, but he'll still be our champion and still be allowed to wrestle on the
We are
show.
100% sanctioning his reign, his victories. Yeah,
Yeah,
but he wears an earring, Jack.
oh man, but yeah, I definitely there's a lot of things I want in 2025, and one of them is to like start being more defined. Stop this tweener stuff because I mean, people can't even say it's just me like changing up because like you can go back to some of the early podcasts this year and you could hear me before it even started talking about how I didn't want Swerve to start being like a tweener who,
Hmm.
still did heelish things or was a babyface or even wanting him to be babyface. It's like it's happening so much where people it's like they want to blur the lines and it's like no, just choose a side. It works when there isn't so many people trying to blur the lines and be this like in between thing. It's like no, either be a heel or be a face and find a way to make it work with whatever character you're trying to do.
Yes, I think a lot of things work like best like that.
Yeah. Best example yesterday night, the New Day with Big E.
Oof,
How do you do it?
oof.
How do you do a heel turn and cement you're not going to be this crowd favorite? You turn on one of the most sympathetic characters in the WWE.
And you say things, Jack, you can't take back.
Yeah. And you say things that the audience is like, you're not even making sense, thus they can't support you in any way. Like everything they
Oh,
were saying to Big E, every fan is like, that's not even true. That doesn't make sense. So that's why you can't even support the New Day's action because you're just like, that
they're
doesn't
like,
make sense. Like your logic against your best friend isn't making sense, but it's not like in a bad way. It's more just like you can understand where they're coming from with saying that stuff, but you in no way can be sympathetic for it.
they said Edge came back, and I'm like, they said Edge came back. Daniel Bryan came back. Daniel Bryan came back. How you gonna say that? You didn't even need surgery. Jack, WWE Shop put out a New Day shirt, and the comments are like, "No, wrong time, WWE Shop."
Yeah, and not only that, when Woods made the comment about coming back from like his injury, it's like that's a different type of injury.
100%. Oh, it's the best type of heel. You're like, oh, you're the worst. And to your point, Jack, I think a lot of folks expected on this night for one of for Xavier to turn on Kofi. We
Yeah.
we saw the writing on the wall. We thought we knew the way this was going to end. Did you expect, Jack, for the two of them to turn on Big E the way that they did?
No, and again, that goes back to my point about the whole predictability thing. I
Way to
enjoyed this
subvert
segment
our
so much.
expectations.
I
Yep.
enjoyed that segment so much because they didn't go the predictable route of Woods turning on Kofi. Instead, what do? They surprise us with Big E coming back, talking about wanting to be their manager. And again, maybe in a predictable route, you're thinking, oh, this is how they keep the New Day together.
Uh
They
huh.
keep it
Uh
intact.
huh.
Big E's going to come back as manager, sure. And out of nowhere, it's like, we don't need you. And you're like, wait, wait, wait. This is not the direction I
Whoa.
was expecting. Yeah, very much enjoyed that segment yesterday.
Well, now it's got people's hopes up. It makes us think that Big E's coming back to beat them up for the things they said. That's what we want to happen.
If Big E comes back, he's got my 2025 Comeback of the Year award right there.
Let's go.
Hey, and 2025, I told my dad that field is looking stacked for comeback of the year because so many people got injured this year. I was like, you got Eddie Kingston, you got Oscar. There's a couple of other names on there, like you just mentioned. Biggie comes back. It's like we're expecting a lot of big names, hopefully, to come back next year, and I'm excited.
Oh boy.
But moving forward to our next match, which I may or may not have a lower level of excitement than what I just expressed. We have the World Heavyweight Championship match, Gunther versus Damian Priest.
I'm excited. It's a rematch from SummerSlam. Gunther's the defending champ this time. And I don't watch the weekly show, Jack, but I see the highlights on Instagram. And it seemed like they're, giving Damian Priest a lot of time to vocalize how confident he is in himself. And he's calling out Gunther for showing cracks in the armor, like, hey, you got beat by Cody. You got beaten a lot this year, like, you're not as undefeatable as we once believed in you. And I'm
Yeah.
like, and again, Jack, I shouldn't have. I enjoyed the Shinsuke title change, but it didn't lessen my hopes for this one. Because I'm like, pull the trigger. Do it. Why not? You put on Gunther back again on Red Royal Rumble. I don't care. Just why not? What's the harm? What do we stand to lose? And what was most frustrating, Jack, was you couldn't see anything in Damien's way. There's nothing. You don't have anything else going on. It's just Gunther, Ludwig. I mean, he must be too beat up to do anything about it to help Gunther. What, Jack? What's going to stop him from doing this?
And a certain Prince.
Golly, you're not the one that he beat in October clean as a whistle. Not that Prince. 1-on-1, bad blood, definitively put him away and went, yep, I'm done with you.
Yeah. Back to the whole. Well, I didn't expect it, but like when it happened, I was like, why did I not see that coming? Like that was my reaction. And keep in mind, this is the same Finn Balor that isn't he also tag champs on Raw right now, and they haven't defended those titles in like months.
They've defended it once. Thank you, Jack. And I think they had a match in Ireland or something for an independent show that the titles weren't on the line for, but they fought.
And again, I was interested in this match the same way you were, but like that lessened it. The finish lessened my enjoyment of the match. Although they were, I do find it interesting that Gunther and Damian have like this like kind of like sneakily good chemistry because their SummerSlam match was pretty good. This one was pretty good,
Mm-hmm.
But I think another issue that I also had was just like if you like knowing that this was the finish, it's kind of frustrating to like do a rematch because it's like I don't know, like I think maybe that's something that like frustrates me with a lot of different world title runs is like they do a lot of like rematches in them when they could have been using them for like
New challengers.
yeah like new challengers because like I mean I don't want to bring up something old but I mean Bryan Danielson only had like what was it 1 or 2 defenses of his title reign and one of them was Jack Perry at All Out.
Oh, goodness.
No,
Remember CM Punk talking about he wasted matches on people? So we burn a match on Damian Priest again, right?
yeah, and I don't mind it, but it's just like, I'm just kind of like left with that sort of sentiment, especially because when, again, like the Bryan Danielson situation, when a run is short, you're limited with your matches. Why do you choose to do a rematch? But again, with the whole predictability thing, we can presume Gunther's reign is going to be going on for a while, so you can't be too mad at them running a rematch just to fill things, especially like I said, with a guy that he has pretty good chemistry with. But yeah, then the ending happens, and I'm just kind of like, man, that was a good match, but it's kind of a sour finish for me.
And like so much of the match was spent. What was Damian nursing the whole match? Was it his arm?
Oh man,
His shoulder? His shoulder.
his left arm.
Because yeah. Like, he spends the whole match nursing his arm. Gunther, they have a great camera shot of Gunther on the ground. Damian is like hugging his arm. The ref's checking on him. And Damian's doing the baby face. Get out of the way. I'm okay. But they got a shot of Gunther looking up and his face changes. He's like, he's coming in. He's shook. This guy's the king of the streets, and can I beat him? And I've had a tough year. But they show Gunther, Jack, and when he sees Damian struggling with his arm, he's got this smirk like, I'm going after that arm. And I love that camera shot. I love the camera shot of him on the ropes with the ceiling behind him. I love this one. He's under the rope going, hey, I got my way in. So we work that arm the whole match. Damian sells it like an absolute champ. For what? For Finn. But I tell you what, Jack, I don't like the ends justify the means anywhere except wrestling. And if this means we get Finn versus Gunther, listen, don't threaten me with a good time.
I'm sorry, sir. Did you say if? I think I saw the news that it is happening.
Oh my. So on Raw, Finn stomped Damian with his superior stomp to Swerve outside when the ref's back was turned. Gunther gets the win. But Gunther comes at him going, I needed to do that by myself. You deprived me of the ability to show everyone and myself that I can beat that man by myself. How dare you, sir?
I can't even say anything about that Swerve comment because I can think of so many times where Swerve does his stomp. And the camera work, blame it on the camera work. They don't do it right, and you see him literally split his legs at their head.
He gets some, like those goats that fall over when you scare them. That's what he's doing. He's just scaring the guy into submission. He's like, I'm stunned.
But yeah, here it is. Gunther to defend World Heavyweight title at WWE Saturday Night's main event.
Lose it. Lose it to Finn. Dom gets in. Carlito goes in. JD McDonough comes in. They beat Gunther. Finn champ. I'm into it.
Oh, wait, sir, what's that predictability called? Damian Priest is interfering.
Oh no! You are 1,000,000,000% right, sir. But if Finn wins, I'm buying all of us street trash T-shirts.
Hey, and look, I know people are gonna say, "Hey, it happened probably on like some. It probably happened like on some Raw show or whatever." But
Yeah.
I don't watch the main show, so I'm just gonna say here, even if Damian Priest is going to interfere, I'm not gonna let that interfere when I'm watching it because we all remember 2020 when we were supposed to get Walter before his name change versus Finn Balor over in NXT UK, and it was taken away from us because of the pandemic.
It's funny that Gunther was like, "You took this away from me," but really, we're like, "This got taken away from us."
Yeah, so I'm gonna be excited for that match at Saturday night's main event because been waiting 4 years for that, and I don't watch the weekly shows. And even then, if I watched that weekly show match, it was gonna be cut up by commercials.
I hate that, Jack. I'm always into a match going, "Is this going to be in the top 10?" The second there's a commercial, and there's some that even exceeded that barrier. That so many times I'm like, forget it. Can you imagine, Jack? I'm already doing the emotional work necessary to watch Saturday night's main event with Liv versus Io, Cody versus Kevin Owens, Gunther versus Finn, and I'm already doing the work necessary to be prepared for a night of amazing championship matches that result in no title changes. I'm already doing that work. I have to start now so that I don't throw my couch out the window when everyone retains their titles because, God dang it, Triple H.
Yeah, or like when people are talking about end of the year lists and they're like, why don't you have this match from a match that takes place between January and April on the road to WrestleMania where no title changes happen?
Mm-hmm.
But
Bring me back to the days, Jack, of 2004 when they weren't even sure what the main event of WrestleMania was.
yeah, no lie, or like just go into complete chaos with some of these title changes. Not 24/7 title changes, but like come on, give us reason to buy into these B shows.
24/7. Make it happen.
But with that, we move on to our main event. It is the Bloodline, the new Bloodline. Solo Sikoa, Jacob Fatu, Tama Tonga, Tongaloa, and Bronson Reed facing off against Roman Reigns, Jay and Jimmy Uso, Sami Zayn, getting ahead of myself, and CM Punk.
Put some respect on their name, Jack. It's the OTC. and the original bloodline.
Yeah, we got that matchup, and sir, I think you can already guess who I was going for. The best in the world. Psych.
You're wearing your thick boy Bronson Reed t-shirt. You were going for the new blood. You were going for the new bloodline.
Look, I may not like any of the Bloodline members, but what it came down to is, yeah, one team has Sami Zayn, but he's associating with the Bloodline, so I gotta cancel him out. But it comes down to their extra members, since I don't really like much of the Bloodline members. One side
Okay.
has CM Punk, and one side has Bronson Reed. If you've been listening to the podcast series, it's clear who I was going for.
I was just in it for a good time. There's a lot of story going into this one. For all the chaos and nonsense that the women's match presented, this one was a very clear. And it's funny. I don't know if even before this match, it occurred to me that like we have like a faction and then the newer version of that faction. Jack, in wrestling, there's always newer versions of things and they're always worse. Here's a case where, God, this must be one of the best examples of a new version of a thing that worked, ever.
Yeah, and one of the things I'll always love is commentary, and I think it's always Corey Graves bringing it up, that this new bloodline, you can very well argue it's very much closer than the original.
Yeah.
And what is the biggest sign of that? They all come out together. Even Bronson Reed, who they just simply recruited for this match, is joining them along for a group entrance. Whereas the other side, everyone's making their own individual entrance.
Even Jimmy, I love his song, but he's been coming out with Roman and he got his own song. I'm
Yeah.
like, good for you, Jimmy. But yes, this is quite the group of individuals rather than a team.
Yeah.
And goodness, Jack, what do you mean you don't like anyone on the new bloodline? You didn't like when Tama Tonga crawled across the cage, across like three sides of the cage, like he's Mario and Bowser's castle in Super Mario Land?
Yeah, that was hilarious. And funny enough, my brother was talking to one of our cousins, and he was like saying that like he wasn't home to watch it, and my
Yeah.
dad made the funniest comment because he was like, "Oh, I'm on my way. I'm on my way back home. I'll probably catch it." And my brother was like, "You're probably gonna miss everything." And my dad goes, "With how long everyone's entrance is, you'll be back just in time for the bell to ring."
Oh my! The bell don't even ring till everybody gets in the ring.
Oh, that's what it was that I was going to mention to you, that I have to make sure to mention it. Michael Cole is literally saying that. He's going, the bell does not ring, and then the bell rings right as he's saying that. And he's like, well, the match doesn't start until everyone's in the ring. He's like, the bell is ringing to signaling the start of this, but the match doesn't officially start till every member is in the ring and in the cage.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
This match, Jack, God, besides the shorter time between entrances, it was just more effective. It was more smooth. I was into it. And because of all the things I thought about the women's match, I noticed right away, Jack, that all them guys that walked into this match, hardly any of them went for a weapon. They just ran into the cage and started beating the first person up they reached. And that was great.
Very older War Games-esque,
And, golly, bring it back to basics and just start throwing hands.
Yeah. And, another thing that helps it, going back to the whole predictability thing, you don't got to worry about all the 10 million Bloodline members running in at the end of the match because they're all in the match already.
Incredible.
It makes the ending unpredictable now. You're like, hey, I don't got to worry about X, Y, and Z making the run in at the end to cost the match. They're all in here.
And how about the drama, Jack? We're at the third member of the old Bloodline team, and CM Punk looks like he wants to run in there. But Roman Reigns goes, no, Sammy, go. And this comes right after Tonga Loa is going to go out for the new Bloodline, and Solo goes, no, Jacob, go. And the two instances are a ton of great character work because those guys on Solo side are like, whatever you say, boss. And meanwhile, over on that babyface side where everyone's head's too big to even fit in that cage, there's tension and there's ego and there's drama.
No, there's not ego. There's super ego in that cage.
There's not ego. There's Ethan Page.
Yeah, I really like the story element of that, because again, it played into that whole commentary line of like, this new bloodline is way closer.
Hmm.
And it especially added the tension because it's like, how are Roman and Punk going to work together? And
That's an old trope that I think a lot of people are over. Will they coexist?
will they coexist? I'm very interested
Um,
to, not to jump ahead, but I'm interested to learn what is the favor that Paul Heyman owes CM Punk.
Goodness gracious! Like, what do you? There's nothing. Roman doesn't have anything yet. Did you see him dress down Seth Rollins?
No, I didn't get to see that.
I think it was on Monday. I saw a clip of CM Punk going, "Hey, I was coming after you because you were world champion. You don't have anything anymore. So listen, I know what's in my future, but it's not you." Like he was dressing him down, like, "Hey, I was coming after you because you had something I wanted, but you don't have that anymore."
Yeah, kind of like how CM Punk doesn't have it anymore.
Ooh, whoa, whoa, whoa!
I gotta sneak the salt in there. It's
Goodness
funny though.
gracious!
The one comment I made was when they announced him as the best in the world. Some of
Yeah.
my friends were watching, and so like I put in the chat, I was like, CM Punk still referring to himself as the best in the world, and I sent this meme where this guy is wearing like a designer backpack, but one of the straps is ripped, and so he has it like tied together to keep using it, and the caption says, "Just let it go already, it's over." So
Wow.
I sent
Wow.
that to my friend. I'm like, CM Punk in 2024 referring to himself as the best in the world.
Did you see Jack the college football intros that they did for themselves?
Yeah, that's what it was when he said it.
Yeah, like where Roman Reigns, he's from the island of relevancy, and Jey Uso is from Yeet University. Yeah, he's best in the world. I was like, you could have done more there.
I saw people saying that they felt a lot of them could have done more because I think it was for the women's one. People felt like they were or no, was it the women's one that they felt they could have done more? Yeah, I think it
I
was
didn't
the
see
women's
them do
one.
that for the women's.
I don't know if they showed it, but I heard that they did one for the women's. But I think it was the women's one that again they were just like they did it worse.
How about the new bloodline? I forget where any of them came from, except for Tongaloa, who told them what his actual school was. And people were like, he couldn't even do this right.
Oh man, my goodness. But any other spots that stand out to you from this match, sir? All right, we're back. Technical difficulties. That might be like the third episode in a row where we've had that technical difficulty issue happen. But thankfully, this one was just a quick one. But right before the pause, sir, I asked you any spots that stood out to you from this match.
I'm trying to think of one I enjoy. Jacob Fatu was just a delight. And he was so good. Jack, I was getting really self-conscious about my top 10. I don't think he's in any of them. Jacob Fatu needs to be up on my list, but he's in all these bloodline matches that, range from, fun to meh. Like this was good. I struggle, Jack. I want to put this match on the list, if not for just a couple of things that's hard to look past. And I think when I think of my top 10, I'm thinking of the ones I had fun, the ones that I wasn't thinking about work while I watched, the ones that I would watch again, right? And then, that there isn't any glaring errors. And I don't know if you noticed, Jack. Did you see when Roman Reigns speared CM Punk? Oh my gosh, how did he do that and why did he do that?
I think I might have missed that.
It was awkward. Roman hesitated. He didn't he kind of waited for Punk to turn around, and it was like this was not as big an accident as it could have been. It was. We saw a lot of spots across the two War Games matches where we're kind of waiting for the moment to do the thing.
Yeah.
And even replay, I'm like, and so anyway, it's a very important spot that plays into the whole story of the match, and I'm like, golly. That really drags you down off a list of top 10. And it's funny, Jack, because there's some matches on my top 10 list I'm really excited to talk to you about.
Yeah, definitely the same can be said here. Um, I think the biggest highlight from this match, again, people are going to call bias, but the biggest highlights to me were both Bronson and Jacob.
Uh-huh.
All this match made me want was for Bronson to remain with this new bloodline, even though he doesn't exactly fit in.
Mm.
But I just think him and Fatu could work so well as a big man tag team.
You know what I like? Jacob not selling things. He gets
Mm,
right back up, and I'm like into it. I think he got hit in the head with that toolbox, and he's like, nope, don't care. I'm great. And it was great.
pair Bronson and Fatu together, and you're saving tag team wrestling next year.
Oh my. What would they be called? The
Uh,
Wild Samoans. The new Wild Samoans.
and you got one guy who's from Australia.
Yeah.
I will say one thing that I learned recently again from a Chris Van Vliet, or yeah, wait, is that how you pronounce his name? Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Okay, I saw from an interview he was interviewing Bronson Reed, and one thing I learned, and this is always one thing I always appreciate is just the fine details that like wrestlers will notice and like really play into a lot. He was talking about his finisher with the tsunami, and Chris was asking him about it, and again, props to Chris for even noticing this. He was like, "You do it differently now than you did in NXT. How did that come to be?" And Bronson went into, he's like, "Yeah, in NXT, I used to get myself kind of set and jump off with both feet." But when he went to New Japan, he started watching more of Vader and Bigelow, and he noticed
Uh-huh.
that Bam, whenever he would do his diving headbutt, he'd only kind of leap off of one foot. And I don't know if
Mm-hmm.
you've noticed that with his tsunami, he does that too, where he leaps off with one foot, and he's like, it's such a tiny detail, but it adds so much effect to it. And I liked how one person said it almost makes it seem like the ropes can't support him enough, so he's jumping off of one foot.
I noticed it, Jack, that day that he did six of them on Seth.
Yeah.
And I picked up on it right away and had the same thought. I wondered if it was because of the structural integrity of the ring. So I was really excited, like you, to hear him describe that very deliberate choice. And I wondered too if, like, as a fan, I wondered if it's safer, like that he jumps as quickly as he does, that he doesn't jump from a higher spot.
Yeah.
But and somebody in the comments is like, I like the things he does with his arms too.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's good. Um, like the women's match show, Jack. Like he jumps off the top of the cage, and so does Jimmy,
Oh
and
yeah.
they both get hurt. I'm like, was it worth doing? And why did you both have to do it? Why did we need one from each team? Why did we need two? Why did we need four, Jack? We got four people jumping off that ring. They're becoming less special.
Yeah. And not only that, when he went to do it, I remember looking, I was like, that feels like it's too close. Like the table. And
Mm.
look what ends up happening. He lands on his foot wrong, you know?
Yeah, Adam Copeland did.
Yeah. So I was just like, man, hate to see it.
You know what else I like? What you know what else grinds my gears, Jack? So
Hmm.
CM Punk pulls Roman off the table. Ermigosh, he's on my team all along. He helped me. You know what I mean? Like, hate it, Jack. I'm like, I can trust you. What the heck has happened for the last 30 minutes? He came out to fight off the new bloodline. Was that not enough? Was that SmackDown closing shot not enough? No, he pulled me off the table. He's forgiven me for accidentally but badly spearing him.
Oh, man. Yeah.
You have earned my respect because that's how respect is gained. It is earned.
And then I mentioned it at the start. Very similar ending.
Yeah, we got it's a very house showy um he gets finisher spammed, Solo does.
Mm-hmm.
Ends in a spear and a pin. Roman Reigns has pinned Solo Sokoa. The new bloodline has been defeated seemingly, and my friend asked, how come Roman didn't get the Ula Fala? Seems like he could have gotten it.
Interesting. I didn't even think of that. And now this
That
makes
would
me
be evil.
wonder, what is the direction going forward with Roman Reigns?
Or Solo, or CM Punk. Or, I feel like a victory like this, right? Any of those baby faces have claim to some title defense or title match.
Yeah. Sammy already challenged Gunther, right? That happened
Sammy
on a
did.
Raw episode. Yeah, no wonder I don't remember.
Did. Yes, he did.
Yeah, interesting where they go from here.
Yeah. But yeah, like Solo, he's not thwarted. He's not going away, right? Like, what is his next move?
Yeah, very interested to see where all of this bloodline stuff goes. The Rock showing
I,
up at any point, you
I
know?
people were mad that nobody came out. They're so conditioned, right? Like,
It's because of
and
last
no,
year's Survivor Series.
and so many people came back.
Yeah, let's blame it on CM Punk once again for ruining
Ah,
people's perception.
Randy Orton couldn't enjoy his return for 10 minutes.
Oh man! But that wraps up Survivor Series War Games. Pretty good show.
I agree.
You know, has its tiny flaws, you know, but made for a pretty good
Yeah.
show.
What were your thoughts, Jack, on Full Gear?
Full Gear, I enjoyed a bit of it, but I didn't end up watching I know I didn't end up watching the main event, which I kind of like kicked myself for, not because like I not because like I heard a lot of buzz about it, but just because I was like, you know, I feel like I should have stuck around, but I was just kind of like as a whole disinterested, you know, like I was like, I don't know, I just haven't been watching too much of any wrestling. Continental
Yeah.
Classic started. I wasn't blown away by the field, but I was very interested in some of the names and yet have not caught a single second of it, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like I kind of felt like the same way when watching Full Gear. Like, let me pull up the match
The
card real
card.
quick. But like there was so many matches where I don't know, I wasn't super interested in, you know, like
Yeah.
the
I,
tag
I well,
match, the four-way
mhm.
tag match, wasn't super interested. Like I'm happy Private Party got their titles, you know. Finally happy to see, you know, them again proclaimed as the future 5 years later. We're like they're still being called the future. When are you gonna capitalize on it? They finally do. Not too upset at the first defense, but it's like I wasn't like super interested, you know.
Yeah.
MJF, Roderick Strong, again, not super interested. I want to go back and rewatch because I was really into the Monet Statlander match, surprisingly. Like, I really enjoyed
Mm.
that one, but I want to go back and rewatch it because, like, I enjoyed what I saw, but I also felt there were times where I wasn't paying full on attention, you know? Hangman and Jay White was pretty good. I don't know if I'd say it was better than the Wrestle Dream one.
Mm-hmm.
Fletcher and Osprey kind of went too long for me because it was like maybe
Mm-hmm.
25 minutes. Was happy to see Daniel Garcia pick up the TNT championship. The one I was surprised that like I wasn't interested in was Takeshita Ricochet. I mean, like it was a good match. I liked it, but like I was surprised that I wasn't like invested in it. You know.
Yeah.
And then of course I ended up missing Bobby's first match in AEW, and then the main event between Moxley and Orange Cassidy.
All right, Jack, let me tell you about all the things that you said that warms my heart and affirms what. Yeah, I watched Jack because there were so many matches on the card that I thought could be literally top 10 match contenders. And I didn't want to miss it. And it was Thanksgiving week. And let's go. There's no school Monday. And so I thought that the tag match was great, if only because we were reminded that there are more tag teams than just the Young Bucks. It was great to see that all happen without a Young Buck to be seen, right? The What was the next match?
MJF Roderick Strong.
It underwhelmed. I held out hope. but who cares? And it's that never-ending Adam Cole story. And like I heard a couple of folks on a podcast talk about these guys main evented Wembley, and now they're like in this never-ending feud where they're trying to rationalize anything and everything, and nothing's happening. And I wanted to like the match. A better Roderick Strong match is somewhere out there that I need to see on DPW from May. I'm going to watch it.
Yeah, I can't wait for the year-end list because, boy, do I have a DPW match for you.
Yeah! The Monet match, it was good. I don't like Monet. It was just like what we described. You knew how it was going to end. But I'm grateful to hear you say you liked it as much as you did. It was probably her best effort in this company so far.
Yeah, that's what I thought, and that's what kind of shocked me. Like, not that, I'm surprised Chris Statlander, helped her get such a performance, but like when you see some of the names Monet's fought, it's like you're kind of surprised that the others weren't to this level. And I will say,
I think the Vakura match was.
Yeah, and that one definitely. But what I will say is, as much as I enjoyed this match and I was enjoying it, I was like, man, could this be a top 10? The finish happened where it was like kind of like a roll.
When you get that feeling, when you get that like dopamine hit,
and then it deflates because of the finish. Like it was like a roll up, I want to say, or like it was like some type of like weak pin that I was just like, okay, never mind.
I love like the different meteoras we saw.
Yeah,
there was multiple different angles and different places, and you're like, this is good. What was after that?
Jay White Hangman.
I agree 1,000,000% with you, Jack, that the Wrestle Dream match was better. This one was good, but that one was better for reasons that we will very likely talk about on our top 10 list.
And I was actually surprised Jay White goes up 2-0 on him.
That's great. Subvert our expectations.
Yeah.
Like we don't got to do it the predictable way. We could do it this way. What's going to happen? You got an angrier Hangman and a smarmier Jay White who's, long in the tooth and just good enough to be able to pull this off. This is great.
And, I'll say this. If they go what we've come to expect out of Hangman in like trilogy, quartet type feuds, if they go the hardcore route, there's no one I trust more to be successful in that than Hangman. But a part of me is kind of just like hoping they don't, because, maybe I'm not, to quote the Shaquille O'Neal thing about oh gosh, why am I blanking on it right now? I apologize, I wasn't familiar with your game. If Jay White is surprisingly good at like hardcore style matches, then sure. Like again, like I said, I can trust Hangman to pretty much carry almost anyone when it comes to hardcore stipulations. That man will go crazy, But I don't know. There's a part of me that's like, I feel like that would only diminish Jay White's abilities to get into a hardcore styled match with Hangman,
Oh, I see. Well, I don't know if this has reached the personal levels that Hangman's previous rivalries have. It'd be funny if they did, because it just makes him more unhinged. If he was like, I just burned your house down. You're like, bro, I just beat you twice in 2 matches. I like that fire is incorporated in Hangman's entrance because that's like a thing now. And it's just like, that escalated quickly.
Everyone's having to look over their shoulders. Everyone in AEW is like double checking their home insurance to make sure fire damage is covered.
To make sure Hangman is covered. Is the next one Osprey? And
yeah,
I agree 1,000,000% with you, Jack. It was too long. It was well fought. There's a lot of funny, crazy spots that happened. The right guy won, and he looks good, and like whatever, right? Like they did business. I couldn't be more excited, Jack, than anything to hear you describe how disappointed you were in Takeshita versus Ricochet. That match, Jack, was the match I bought this whole dang pay-per-view for. And I said, this is one that's going to be up there. Takeshita's not on my list, and he should be, and this is the match he's going to be put on it. Jack, I watched that match 4 times because for 4 times, I caught myself not watching the match. I'm like, it was like a book. You're like reading the same page, and I'm like, what am I missing? I watched it 4 times, Jack. And I don't know what it was.
Sir, I don't want to spoil my list too much, but You can go back and watch my video I did on the other channel if you need even more reason. But this is my plea to you. I understand the school year is busy, but hearing your opinions on this Takeshita match, all I can ask is that you go and do yourself the favor of watching Takeshita versus Goto from the G1 to rectify your feelings with this Ricochet match.
I thought you were gonna make me watch his whole G1 run, but you're talking this is Goto match.
Well, if you have the time to bless yourselves and treat yourselves, go and watch that man's entire G1 run, because I will say that is the most treat yourself thing I've done this year. That is the most mental health
Wow!
greatness I've done to
Wow!
myself was over the summer. I said, you know what? Konosuke Takeshi's heading over to New Japan. I am going to do myself the favor of making time each day to watch his matches. Hey, if you go to the other channel, I literally have it titled that his run was legendary because that's how much I enjoyed it. That man,
Dang.
that man went from me being like, man, I wish they would do more to him, to after that G1 run was done, I was like, this man's in Wrestler of the Year contention for me off this summer alone. He could do nothing the rest of this year, and I'm still putting him up there.
I will take that to heart. Make plan and time in winter break to treat myself.
Yeah. If anything,
You,
just be like, oh, school's over. I have to
yep.
wait a bit for Saturday night's main event to start. Let me figure out where I can watch this Goto Takeshita match.
Let's go. Let's go, Toe. Did you hear the results of the Bobby Lashley Swerve match?
Yes.
I would recommend you watch it if only because you're so invested in the Swerve character. It
Yeah.
was a well fought match. It took a few turns I didn't expect. It's one that I would recommend too. The main event, us Orange Cassidy versus Moxley, you've seen. They had one at All Out for the international title, if you recall.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they were the exact same match, but I am saying is that I remember enjoying that one a lot, and this one was, it did a lot of things. Moxley wins, and you're like, okay, I wish Orange did. But that Swerve one, I think you got to see it if only because the next chapter you'll enjoy the next chapter if you see this one for yourself.
Yeah, I definitely do because they just announced that he's facing, I think, Max Caster this Wednesday. And so, like, I'm interested to see, like, well, what's the direction? Like, how do we get here from that pay-per-view to here?
Is that Lashley or Swerve?
Swerve.
Swerve's fighting Caster.
Yeah.
Oh man.
And they're doing, like, a whole thing where, like, one of the Acclaimed might join the Hurt Syndicate.
I think Max Caster has been courted.
Yeah.
And he's like, there was some bad blood between him and Anthony Bowen.
Yeah.
They were not on the same page. They got pinned in that 4-way tag match, and there was a lot of miscommunication.
Yeah, I remember seeing that's what someone was kind of frustrated. It was like they did this whole Acclaim storyline and they didn't do the breakup there. But this is one of those situations where I'm like, I think they're waiting it out a bit. They don't want to rush it, because that's always kind of been a criticism of AEW is they don't let certain moments breathe enough. So
They didn't.
yeah, but yeah, definitely, not the worst show, but was interested in a couple matches, and then all it did was solidify to me what like the opinion I've always held, and that's if there is an AEW pay per view that is can't miss, it is typically always Revolution. Every other big four, like of their big four, I feel like has kind of had a miss. Like All Out's had a miss. Double or Nothing has had a miss. Full Gear. This one isn't necessarily a miss, but it's not to the level of other Full Gears where it's like anytime I look at the Revolution cards from the year, I'm just like, the Revolution Revolution always ends up in at least contention for my show of the year, you know?
Yeah.
And like it's a strong contender this year with all that happened at Revolution earlier this year. Like I was looking back at the card and I was like, man, this was a really good card.
Is that is that to catch the Osprey?
Yeah. And then Sting's
Yeah.
retirement in the main event.
I don't bring up those two in the same voice, but multiple people do, and I think it's funny. They're like, "Remember that match of the year contender Sting's farewell match?" I'm like, I remember the match. I don't know. Calm down with your bad self. It was the Young Bucks throwing themselves around. It was Young Bucks and Darby Allin throwing themselves around back and forth.
Yeah, not to mention the pay per
I
view
watched.
he'd cut.
I enjoyed it, but I'm not. Listen, it's not on my list.
Yeah, and again, like I said, the pay per view cut before we could even hear Sting say farewell. So us at home didn't even get to say farewell to him.
Goodness, goodness.
And then speaking of Revolution, I think it's too soon. I don't think I'd be able to, but I was very angry to hear that this year's Revolution, not this year, next year's Revolution, is taking place in Los Angeles.
Woo!
And not
Come
only
down,
that, in
where we have all the
downtown,
cool pay-per-views.
downtown Los Angeles. Literal
Woo!
minutes away from where I used to live.
Woo! I still live there.
Makes me so angry that they decided to do a show. I mean, hey, I got to watch Full Gear 2023, so that's what I get to hold above people. I got to watch Hangman and Swerve literally attempt murder on one another in real life, in person.
Yeah, yeah.
But with that all being said, any other news to look forward to, sir?
No, when are we going to record our top 10 matches of 2024 podcast?
Well, let's see. You said Saturday night's main event takes place on the 14th. We'll probably record on the 17th.
17th.
Do you want to do? Well, if we cover Saturday night's main event, what do we do about the top 10? Because that might.
Oh, I see. Oh, I see. I forgot about, like, I took for granted the want to cover Saturday night's main event in addition to the top 10.
Yeah.
Do you want to do our top 10 in lieu of the main event, Saturday night's main event?
I kind of do just because there's a couple matches that I want to hold out for, you know?
So you want to push the date? Or
Yeah, I want to do it after Saturday night main event just because I want to see that Gunther Balor one.
100%.
Because if it, you know, if no interference happens, it could end up on the list. Look, all I'm gonna say is the competition is very thin for my top 10. This isn't like a previous year, like 2022, where I have like multiple matches to pick from. It's slim pickings on my side.
Dang. You mean it's not just Takeshita's run, just in order of your likes and desires?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I might have just done that for the gimmicks because of how much I've been struggling.
Goodness gracious. So you want to record our top 10 on the 17th?
I mean, that works for me if you have the time.
I will.
All right, then.
And does that mean you don't want to cover Saturday night's main event?
I guess we'll see how it goes. Because
okay.
I guess it depends on the show. And also, I don't know, maybe it depends on how quickly we're able to cover it, you know? Like maybe we do a quick recap of it and then just, you know, jump right into our top 10s. Or we make it like two separate things where the recap is a shorter episode and then the top 10 is right thereafter for people to listen to.
Let's do that.
Yeah. But you heard it here. Mark your calendars. Tuesday night, the 17th.
Dirty Dom's going to interfere in the Gunther match and the Liv match, and he might as well interfere in the Cody match. And if that happens, Jack, we ain't going to talk about anything.
Yeah, we're boycotting. No top 10 this year.
Ooh.
Boo wrestling, boycotting wrestling.
Yes.
Uh, but with that all being said, I've been Jack, joined by my guest.
Mr. Solis.